All right, we're here to talk about Evil Dead Burn.
My grandfather believed the devil would return if anyone read from the Book of the Dead.
Calm down.
I just got back from watching it at the cinema, and I'm here to tell you my thoughts. Now, before I go on, just quickly, I wanted to say that some of the formatting is changing here on this channel. Instead of doing the bog standard movie reviews that everybody else does, I kind of wanted to change things up a little bit, and make things a little bit different. So from going from this movie review onwards, it's going to be a little bit looser and a little bit more less officially professionally structured like a movie review. It's going to be more like my thoughts on the movie. Not much is really going to change because I'm going to discuss the same kind of things, but just expect a little bit difference here. And it's not technically a movie review. I'm a film buff, right? I'm not a movie critic. I'm a film buff, and I'm here to talk about movies, and that's exactly what I'm going to do now. Evil Dead Burn. So Evil Dead hasn't always been like on the highest of the totem pole for me, right? It hasn't been at the top of the totem pole for me. Mainly because there's other franchises that have done this sort of material better. But I really like 1981's Evil Dead. I really like the sequel, even though it's a little bit more comedic. The third one is like a fantasy medieval epic movie that is a lot less horror than the other ones. And some people don't even count it in the Evil Dead franchise, which is kind of strange. It is technically Evil Dead 3, even though it's not in the title, it's just Army of Darkness, right? Evil Dead came back much later with Evil Dead, and it was a reboot, right? So it's still a sequel, but it's basically retelling the same thing, and they did that really really well. And then we had Evil Dead Rise more recently, which I very much liked. Each entry in this series has brought something completely different to the franchise. Evil Dead Burn. Let's talk about it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good horror movie, right? It's a very good horror movie. It ticks all the boxes as a horror movie fan, almost of them. Let's start first with the characters. Good characters that for the most part, you kind of get to care about. Although the subtext of the movie is kind of what lets it down for me. So it focuses on this family that are all bereaving someone in the family. I don't want to give away too many spoilers here, but they're bereaving, and their grandfather of the family is the one that knows all about the demons and the Book of the Dead, and he's long gone and left all of these things in the attic. So it's kind of cliche. You've heard that before, right? You've heard this kind of thing before. It does offer kind of cliches in spades a little bit with this movie, but the characters are pretty likable in all respect. Even though some of them make horrible decisions, you can kind of relate to some of them. However, they do push the narrative a little bit with the subtext of this is about a woman that is going through a traumatic time in her life. She's had an abusive marriage with her husband, and this is her husband's family, right? And so we get that trope, and this subtext has been told time and time and time again in films of more recent years, so it's kind of getting boring for me. I'm kind of over that, and you could argue that the men in the movie are the evil ones, to a certain point. Of there's the one character that is one of the good guys, but he's very, I kind of compare him to the kid in Obsession, right? Where he is a little bit of a wuss, really, when it comes to helping people, and he does let a few people get injured. I don't want to say anything more. I don't want to spoil the movie, but there is a wuss in the family, and you kind of want to go, "You're a dick," and the father is pretty nasty too. So there is that, and yeah, there you could say the men in the movie are bad, and that they were pushing that a little bit. I don't know. It's really up for interpretation, but that's how I saw it, right? The gore that surprised me the most. Now, I went in and made an assumption. Like I said, I went in saying, "Evil Dead, can it be Evil Dead Burn? Can it be more gory than the other entries in the franchise? Can they step it up even more?" I mean, Rise was very gory. They completely were relentless about the gore in this movie. There was some crazy things. There were fingers chopped off. There was stabbing galore, knife galore. Um, there was teeth pulling and impalements and decapitations and biting and scratching and burning and melting. Like everything you expect from the Evil Dead franchise is here in spades. And if you are an Evil Dead fan, I think you're going to really, really enjoy this movie. I think this movie is going to be great for like Evil Dead fanatics. Although if you might be miffed by the subtext, I don't know. Because the thing is, Evil Dead has never had a subtext like this. It's always been teenagers go to a cabin, they each take turns getting possessed and trying to kill each other, and then it kind of repeats that. There was a few deviations here and there. Obviously, with Rise, it was a family in an apartment building, and that kind of was the seeds there of this movie. And I will say these movies don't connect really. There's maybe subtle references to things that have happened before, but for the most part, it is its own movie. You can watch this not watch the other movies and still be absolutely fine. Interestingly, this was directed by Sebastian Vanciek, I want to say. He's a French filmmaker. There is some French in this movie, so you can definitely see that input. But this guy has not really made much other movies. I mean, he did a movie called Infested in 2023, which I haven't seen. But this was really on the back of some more seasoned people, including Sam Raimi, who did produce the movie as well. And the film stars some people that I have not recognized in other movies, and I do think they did quite well. I will say the opening of this movie was my favorite of the whole entire film. On a fishing lake, a couple of fishing rods and a couple of fishing guys fishing this lake, and it just started like this. It had this real classic feel to it. I loved everything they did there. The next stage of the movie had me worried. There was a modern side of there's like a modernness to the movie that I was like, okay, this is a bit worrying. Where are we going? And it does improve. I will say the third act is definitely the weakest. It goes overboard, it gets predictable, and there's some silly character choices that they make here in terms of plot devices. And if you know Evil Dead, you'll know that there are plot devices in Evil Dead. There's no different here, and our characters just make some weird, stupid decisions in order to resolve that and get hold of the plot device, right? So there is that. But I do really like this movie. They make a great use of lighting in this. The cinematography is great, although there is an overuse of those 360 spinning shots where it turns the entire shot upside down. They use that a lot, and to the point where I was getting kind of annoyed with it. But there was one cool thing in this movie that I liked from the original movie, where you had the shaky cam going through the woods as a POV of the demon, or the of the soul, I guess. So you have that demon POV in this. It's a lot more looser, more controlled, and it kind of felt like you were on a ride and you were moving with it on the big screen, which is a really cool effect that they did. And generally, there were long shots in this movie that I thought were great. We get one in the trailer that you've seen where she's crawling along the floor and everything's happening around her, and it's one wide shot and long shot, and I think that was great. That must have been hard to get that take right. They must have done that a few times, and I love long takes that are, in recent times, especially horror movies with one takes, they are superb, and my hat's off to that. I thought that was a great moment in the film that we'd already seen in the trailer. I don't know why they showed us that in the trailer. Like, out of everything that I saw, they could have done a very standard trailer and still sold us. I don't think they should have wasted the opportunity to give us that long shot and completely just reveal that. I think it gave a lot away. The score is great. It's very minimal, very Evil Dead. There's some, high pitched choirs and there is heartbeats and things like that, which I really like. I think heartbeats, when it comes to horror movies, is a great way to build tension, and there is lots of tension building in this that I like. But like I said, the subtext just brings it down for me. The predictability, some of the character choices, especially there's a scene on the roof. I'm not going to go into too much and spoil it here, but there's some dumb shit there. Really dumb shit. And it kind of made me go, why did they do that? But that happens a lot in horror movies, especially modern horror movies. I was growing up on 70s and early 80s horror and a lot of Italian horror as well. So to be wowed by a horror movie these days, like even Obsession, I thought was overhyped. So, I'm a massive fan of horror movies, but that means my bar is high, very, very high. But I enjoyed it. I would probably recommend waiting for streaming for this movie. Don't go out and spend hard-earned money, especially if you're going out as a group, because that becomes expensive in the cinema, and the popcorn and the drinks and all of that. Just wait for streaming, because I think that you will get the same value, you'll get the same experience. I don't think this is very rewatchable. Like, if I go back to the Evil Dead movies in I think they're actually making another Evil Dead movie, right? They're making a third in this trilogy. They're not connected, but this trilogy of new Evil Dead movies. So when we get to that, I will definitely rewatch this. I will not complain about rewatching this film, but I wouldn't like go, oh, I really want to watch Evil Dead burn. Like, I just can't see that happening. Time will tell, and I will do another my thoughts on this video, which is another thing I want to bring up. Um, Sometimes when I watch a movie and I do a review, and I'll go back to it or I'll sleep on it, and my opinions might change, or I might think of something else I want to talk about. So I am going to do another video on the same film, which is basically I slept on this movie and here are my thoughts. So perhaps there might be some other things I want to discuss. This is obviously going back without notes. I don't like taking notes. I don't know if movie critics take notes in the cinema, but I don't do that. So you've kind of got to go on the memory of it. And that is basically what I thought of Evil Dead. It was a good movie. Wasn't a great movie, but it wasn't a bad movie. It was a solid horror film that kept me entertained throughout. Good pacing. I enjoyed it. Guys, what do you think of Evil Dead Burn? Are you going to go and see it? Have you seen it? Let me know. Comment below, and I will see you with the next video. I'm going to go and see Moana tomorrow night. It's quite a change in tone. Me and the wife are going to go and watch that, so I will give you my thoughts on Moana tomorrow night. If you want to see some other movie content from me, check out my TikTok channel, because I post loads of little bits and pieces there that you might find interesting in between. Or you can follow me on my letterbox, where you kind of get very short reviews, but you kind of get to see how many films I'm watching, and potentially have a look through my lists and get to see how I'm ranking movies and things like that. So, guys, check that out. Everything's in the description. I'll see you real soon with the next one. Take care of yourselves.